My name is Ava Quinn, I'm 28, and today was supposed to be about love. Miami in late May is a furnace with good manners, hot but polite about it. The Atlantic glittered like someone had spilled a million sequins, and the resort smeared itself along the shoreline in cream and gold. I checked my reflection in the elevator mirror and tried to breathe through the buttercream of panic in my chest. Maid of honor. Big sister's big day. Smile, fix the strap, pretend I slept. Eve! My mom's voice pinged off the lobby chandeliers. You look beautiful, baby. Thanks, Mom. I kissed her cheek. She smelled like gardenias and determination. The wedding team swarmed like pastel bees, florists, photographers, a coordinator with a headset who moved chairs with 3 words and a glance. I'd spent months helping Nora plan this oyster bar sunset vows, a slideshow of their love story. I wanted everything perfect for her, and for me. Because I was bringing Ethan home in a way. We'd been together a year, easy laughter split fries, him reading my drafts out loud, because he said my work sounded better in his voice. He flew in late last night, texted he loved me, sent a photo of the hotel pool at midnight. He was the first person who made me think the word future without flinching. Where's Nora? I asked the coordinator. Bridal suite, she said. Hair is happening. I jogged up the marble stairs. The resort smelled like salt and sunscreen and money. Nora's door was half open, laughter spilling out, a hairstylist sculpting miracles, sequins and satin catching the sun. You're late, Nora teased. I brought caffeine and lip balm, I said, holding up peace offerings. She grinned, eyes glossed with happy nerves. I can't believe this is happening. I hugged her, careful of pins. You deserve everything. I know, she said, and then laughed like she'd been joking, like she'd never be the kind of person who believed that without irony. We did the sister dance, jokes, memories, that time she stole my favorite sweater and denied it until we found it on her dog. She was light and fast, always had been. I was steadier, the list maker, the one who texted, don't forget the rings, and packed the lint roller. Ethan's here? She asked, powder brush hovering. Late flight, but yeah. He crashed. Bring him by before the ceremony, she said. I owe him for listening to you spiral about table linens. I laughed. Spiral is harsh. You color-coded a seating chart like it was a hostage negotiation. We were fine. We were good. The room smelled like hairspray and sweet relief. I left to check on the slideshow. The AV room was tucked behind the ballroom. Cool, quiet cables like sleeping snakes. I plugged in my drive. The screen flickered. The first photo appeared, Nora and Jason on a Ferris wheel, all teeth and wind. I clicked through, timing the transitions, syncing the music. Then the screen jerked. The file name at the bottom was wrong. I froze, confused. I hadn't added anything new. Another photo loaded. At first I didn't understand it. Hotel sheets, skin, a jawline that was painfully familiar. A hand with a tiny constellation of freckles on the wrist. My stomach walked off a cliff. I clicked back forward, praying it was a glitch, a sick coincidence. It wasn't. It was Ethan. Ethan and Nora. In a mirror selfie, her hair a messy halo, his smile lopsided with sleep. A timestamp in the corner. Last night. 1:12 a.m. The room tilted. The air went thin like someone had vacuumed it out of the world. I leaned on the table and felt the cool edge bite my palms. No, I said softly, like I could negotiate with pixels. No, no, no. I clicked again. Another image. Nora's hand on his cheek. Ethan's mouth on her shoulder. A blurry laugh caught mid-motion. I wanted to look away. I couldn't. Salt rose in my throat. The door opened. The AV tech peeked in. Need help? I slammed the laptop shut so fast the hinge squealed. No, I'm good. He nodded, oblivious, and left. I stood there shaking, listening to my pulse in my ears. There was a version of me that would have walked straight to Nora's suite, ripped the veil off, asked how long, asked why. There was a version that would have called Ethan, screamed until my voice bled. But the version standing in that room did something else first. I reopened the laptop. I checked the folder path. There was a subfolder I hadn't created hidden in plain sight named something bland extras. Inside the photos, a video thumbnail. My hands went numb. My mind didn't. Questions marched in neat as soldiers. Who added this? How, why, here? I tracked the metadata. The files were dragged in from an airdrop at 7:40 a.m. The text log showed access on my USB 2 minutes later, which meant the files were already on it when I arrived. Someone wanted me to find them. Or wanted this to play. To everyone. I heard myself laugh a small torn sound. Of course. Because if you're going to shatter a girl, do it under chandeliers. I backed up the originals. I copied everything to my own drive. I checked the AV queue and yanked the corrupted playlist, replacing it with a clean version. My fingers moved like they belonged to someone else, agile and exact. Then I sat in the dim blue-lit room and let it hit me. I thought about every time Nora said, "He's good for you." Every time Ethan said, "Your sister is intense," like she was a weather pattern he enjoyed watching from a safe distance. I thought about their inside jokes at Thanksgiving, the way they laughed too long, the way I told myself I was paranoid, jealous, dramatic. I pressed my face into my hands and saw the slideshow images burning on the inside of my eyelids. I cried for 3 minutes, exactly 3, because I checked the time. Then I washed my face in the bathroom sink until my eyes looked like I wasn't a person who had just drowned. I needed air. The balcony overlooked the ceremony lawn where rows of white chairs faced an arch dripping orchids. Jason paced by the water with his best man practicing his vows out loud. Nora's fiancé. I swallowed hard and felt something inside me harden with a quiet, cold click. "Hey!" A voice behind me. "Ethan." I turned. He was in a navy suit, hair still damp from a shower, eyes soft with that familiar spiral of concern that used to feel like safety. He stepped closer. "You okay? You look pale." I stared at him and felt the universe split into 2 tracks. In one, I told him I knew. In the other, I said nothing and watched what he did next. "I'm fine," I lied. My voice tasted like metal. "Late night." He touched my elbow. "I tried to find you when I got in. You were with Nora." The way he said her name was casual, almost bored. The knife twisted. "How was your night?" I asked. He blinked a half beat too long. "Lonely without you." I wanted to shove him off the balcony and also crawl into his arms and beg him to tell me I was wrong. Both urges hummed in my bones like electricity. "Can you help the photographer wrangle guests in 15? I said. "I need to check music cues." He smiled, relieved to be useful, to be the boyfriend who pitches in. "Of course." He kissed my forehead, gentle, habitual, and left. I stared after him. The wind off the ocean licked my skin, then turned cold. Back inside, I checked my phone. 3 new texts from Nora. "Nora, where are you?" "Nora, don't freak. But can you swap the order of the slideshow songs? I want the childhood pics first." "Nora, love you." I typed, then deleted. "Do you?" I typed on it. And sent. Because here's the thing about betrayal. It isn't just the break. It's the choreography of how you're meant to watch yourself fall. I walked to the ballroom, to the stage, to the little table where the laptop would sit when the lights went down. I touched the cable. I breathed. I saw the whole night play out in brutal, perfect crystal. When the slideshow started, everyone would look up at the screen. Everyone would be quiet. Everyone would be together for one suspended minute in the same truth. A wave slapped the shore like applause. I heard the coordinator call places. The band tuned a soft, romantic chord. I looked at the laptop. I looked at the door to Nora's bridal suite. I felt my heart steady into something I recognized: resolve. I reached for my phone to send one message, just one, before the ceremony. But the screen lit up on its own with a notification I hadn't expected. "Airdrop request Nora, plus, Ethan, video.move. Sender unknown." My thumb hovered. My mouth went dry. I hit accept. The thumbnail loaded. The audio auto-previewed for half a second. And I heard my sister's voice whisper, breathless and unmistakable. "We shouldn't." I stared at the thumbnail. The small rectangle on my phone felt heavier than the whole ocean outside. My thumb hovered again, trembling. I pressed play. The video lit up in motion, sheets, a lamp glow, shadows of two people too close. Ethan's voice low. Just one more time. Nora's laugh, breathless, guilty, alive. I hit pause so hard the screen nearly cracked. My lungs stuttered like I'd forgotten how to do something as basic as breathing. My sister, my boyfriend, my betrayers. And me, the maid of honor, the loyal little sister, the fool in the middle of paradise. I leaned against the balcony door, shaking. My thoughts ricocheted. Tell Jason, run away, scream, burn it all down. But then another thought slipped in sharp and clean. Use it. I had the files, I had the proof. And tonight at the wedding, everyone would be watching one screen. The same screen. The slideshow. My heart hammered, trying to fight my brain. Don't do it, a small voice whispered. It'll destroy everything. But another voice, colder, stronger, answered good. Downstairs, the rehearsal was ending. Guests clapped as the officiant smiled. The orchestra played something sweet. I fixed my face into something neutral and stepped back into the ballroom. Ethan was there, talking to Jason, laughing like nothing had happened. Nora was still upstairs, probably getting her makeup touched. I walked past Ethan without looking at him. My hand brushed against the laptop case and my plan began to bloom in silence. Later that afternoon. Hey, Ethan caught me by the pool. His sunglasses reflected the sun, hiding his eyes. Hey, I answered flat. You sure you're okay? He asked. His voice softened, practiced the same tone he used when calming me after nightmares. I said, I'm fine. You've been off? He tilted his head. If this is about last night. My stomach turned. What about last night? He blinked, caught himself, scrambled. I mean, your flight. You must be exhausted. I smiled, a brittle thing. Right. Exhausted. He kissed my cheek quickly as if to seal the lie and left. The heat pressed down, sticky and relentless. But inside me, a different fire burned, steady, cold, unstoppable. Evening came. The ballroom glowed in gold light. Guests in chiffon and suits drifted toward tables set with crystal. The slideshow would play right after dinner before the first dance. Perfect timing. I checked the laptop again. 2 versions of the playlist sat on the desktop, the love story file and the hidden one, truth. All I had to do was switch them, but doubt slithered in. Jason's smile flashed in my mind, his nervous pacing, the vows he'd practiced. Would I be saving him or destroying him? And Nora, she was still my sister. She'd braided my hair when I was 9, covered for me when I snuck out at 15. Did she deserve humiliation like this? Then Ethan's voice replayed in my memory, lonely without you, while his hands were still warm from her skin. My jaw clenched. Yes, they deserved it. Both of them. The coordinator bustled over. Ava, you're still good to cue the slideshow. Yes, I said smoothly. I've got it handled. Handled. Such a small word for such a colossal choice. Dinner blurred. Toasts rang out, funny, touching, predictable. I clinked glasses and smiled at jokes I didn't hear. My chest buzzed like a live wire. Finally, the coordinator tapped my arm. You're up. I stood, knees loose, palms damp, and walked toward the laptop at the corner of the stage. Everyone's eyes drifted toward me, trusting, unsuspecting. I touched the trackpad. The cursor hovered over love story, then slid slow and deliberate to truth. My finger pressed down. The first forbidden image filled the screen. Gasps rippled through the room. Nora's laugh, Ethan's face sheets, tangled timestamp glowing. Frozen proof 10 feet tall. Jason's fork clattered to the table. Guests turned, whispering, pointing. And me, I stood by the laptop. My heart racing, my lips curved into the smallest, sharpest smile I'd ever worn. But before the second image could appear, the screen flickered. The projector stuttered. Then everything went black. A voice shouted from the tech booth, panicked. The slideshow had crashed. I froze breathless, staring at the dark screen. And in the silence, one thought screamed in my head. Who else knows? The ballroom buzzed like a hive split open. Gasps, whispers, chairs scraping. The projector screen glowed blank, humming, faintly mocking me with its emptiness. Jason's face was pale stone. He turned toward me, eyes sharp, demanding an answer I couldn't give, not yet. I forced my voice steady. Technical issue. Everyone just relax, we'll fix it. The coordinator rushed to the booth, headset crackling. The band tried to cover the silence with an awkward flourish. Guests murmured, half confused, half thrilled, like they'd glimpsed a car crash before the curtain dropped. My heart banged against my ribs, furious. Someone had cut me off. Someone new. I slipped away from the stage, my heels clicking too loud. Behind the curtain, the AV tech hunched over cables. It just crashed, I swear. Never happened before. Can you restore it? My voice was a blade. Maybe. Files look corrupted. His hands shook as he typed. But I knew the files weren't corrupted. They'd been sabotaged. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ethan by the bar, jaw tight, whispering into his phone. And for the first time all day, I wondered, was it him? Did he see what I'd tried to do? Did he stop me? I stepped closer, but he turned just as Jason stormed in from the ballroom. What the hell was that? Jason's voice cracked through the air like a whip. His face was red, veins rising at his temple. Glitch, the tech stammered. We're working on it. Jason's gaze pinned me. Ava. I opened my mouth, but Nora appeared at the doorway, veil shimmering, eyes wide with practiced innocence. What's going on? She asked, her tone light, confused, almost sweet. Like she hadn't just been seconds away from her own public execution. I studied her face, hunting for guilt. She found my stare and didn't flinch. She walked toward me slowly, her smile fixed. Ava, she said softly, low enough for only me. Don't. The words slid in like a knife between my ribs. I almost laughed. Don't. After she'd done this to me. Her hand brushed my arm in a sisterly gesture, but her nails bit down just enough to sting. I'll explain later, she whispered. Just don't ruin this. My chest screamed with betrayal. Every memory of her kindness shattered, reassembled into a mask. And still part of me hesitated. Ladies, Jason snapped, impatient. We need the show running again. Now. Nora turned to him with doe eyes. Of course, babe. Maybe we just skip the slideshow. It's not that important. Not important. The words made my blood boil. Jason frowned. It is important. Ava worked hard. He looked at me, trusting. Still trusting. And in that moment, the cliff edge stretched under my feet. Reveal everything now and scorch the earth. Or wait, sharpen the blade and strike when no one could stop me. I nodded slowly. Give me 5 minutes. I'll fix it. Jason relaxed a fraction. Nora's smile flickered, uncertain. Ethan's eyes across the room narrowed like he was solving a puzzle. I returned to the laptop, the weight of 3 pairs of eyes burning my back. In the booth, the tech muttered, I can roll back the system, maybe pull the files again. Don't bother, I said. I pulled out my backup drive, the copy I'd made earlier. Clean, untouched, safe. And tucked inside that drive, hidden, was the folder of truth. If they thought they'd stopped me, they hadn't seen the last round. I leaned closer to the tech. Here, use this. He blinked. You already had a backup. Of course, I said. My voice was steel. I plan ahead. Back in the ballroom, laughter rose as champagne was refilled. The crowd thought the glitch was over, just a hiccup. But under the glitter and music, tension knotted the air. Nora avoided my gaze. Ethan wouldn't put down his phone. Jason tapped his glass nervously. And me, I stood there knowing the next move was mine. But just as I prepared to cue it again, my phone buzzed. A new message, unknown number. Play it and I'll tell them everything about you. I froze. My blood iced over. Everything about me. What did they know? Another buzz. You're not as innocent as you think. My hands trembled. The ballroom spun. And for the first time that night, I realized maybe I wasn't the only one with secrets. The ballroom spun, though I hadn't moved. That text glared at me from the phone screen like a threat carved in glass. Play it, and I'll tell them everything about you. My chest clenched. What about me? I wasn't the cheater, the liar, the thief. I was the betrayed. But there was something. something I'd buried so deep I barely admitted it to myself. If that secret came out tonight, I'd be finished too. I slipped out to the hallway, heels clicking against marble, and pressed my back to the cool wall. My breathing came shallow, uneven. Another buzz. Think carefully, Ava. One word from me and you're done. I wanted to throw the phone, smash it against the floor. Instead, I typed, Ava, who are you? No answer. Just the silent pulse of danger. The ballroom roared behind me. The coordinator peeked out, frantic. Ava, what's happening? We need you. I'm coming, I lied. I stuffed the phone into my clutch and returned, but the ground felt different, like walking into a trap I couldn't see. Jason raised his glass, trying to calm the crowd. Everyone, please, just a small delay. Ava will fix it. They clapped politely, eager for entertainment, oblivious to the fire about to ignite under their feet. Ethan caught my eye across the room. He looked too calm, too collected. His phone vanished into his pocket as if on cue. My gut twisted. Was it him? Did he send the texts? I forced myself back to the tech booth. My backup drive was still plugged in, waiting. The cursor hovered over truth. My hand shook on the trackpad. My mind split into two roads. One, play it, scorch them, and risk my own ruin. Two, back down, protect myself, and live forever with their laughter in my bones. Neither road looked survivable. Nora appeared beside me like smoke. Her perfume, jasmine, and arrogance wrapped around me. Ava, she whispered, her lips barely moving. Don't do this, please. Her voice cracked on please. Was it guilt or just fear of exposure? I whispered back. Why Nora? Why him? Why me? Her eyes glossed, but her words were knives, because he wanted me, and you never deserved him. My chest split open. She smiled faintly, cruel and triumphant, and stepped back toward the dance floor. And in that moment, the choice solidified. I touched the trackpad, clicked. The screen lit up again. Gasps. A woman's scream. A man's curse. Jason half rose from his chair. Ethan's face. Nora's body. The timestamp. The truth. It burned across the ballroom in merciless clarity. But then, the screen glitched. Lines tore through the images. Static swallowed their faces. And suddenly a different video played. Not Nora, not Ethan. Me. On the screen, I was laughing in a car at night, a bottle of vodka in the cup holder, headlights weaving. My voice slurred. Don't tell anyone, okay? The room gasped louder. My stomach collapsed. I remembered that night, one reckless drive home after a party years ago. No one had ever known. Not even Nora. Until now. Whispers rose like smoke. That's Ava. She was drunk. Oh my God. Jason's face twisted in confusion. Nora hid her smile behind her hand. Ethan just stared at me, unreadable. And I understood the blackmail. Someone had planted both sets of files, theirs and mine, and now both were on display. The hunter had become the hunted. The screen went black. Silence pressed down like a storm cloud. And then Jason's voice broke it. What the hell is going on here? All eyes turned to me. I opened my mouth, but no words came. Only the echo of my own secret unraveling in front of them all. The silence was worse than screams. Every eye in the ballroom pinned me like needles. Whispers hissed, chairs scraped, the orchestra froze mid-note. Jason's face was tight with confusion. Ava, what the hell did we just see? My throat burned. I wanted to shout, it's not what it looks like. But wasn't that exactly what Nora and Ethan would have said? For one brutal second, I saw myself through their eyes, not the betrayed, but the hypocrite. Nora stepped forward, veil trembling, as if innocence itself had entered the room. Ava, she said softly, her voice breaking at the edges. Why would you show that? The crowd murmured louder. The narrative was spinning, turning, slipping out of my control. I started, but Ethan cut in, voice calm and deliberate. She must have put it in there herself. I told you she's been unstable. Unstable. The word detonated like dynamite under my ribs. I turned on him, fury shaking my voice. Don't you dare. Jason snapped. Somebody explain this, now. The projector flickered again. A few random images flashed, Nora and Ethan kissing me behind the wheel, drunk Jason looking lost. The sabotage was total. Guests gasped, some covering their mouths, some pulling out phones to film. I lunged for the laptop, slamming it shut. The room plunged back into silence, broken only by the pounding of my heart. "Jason," I said, desperate, "you have to believe me." But Nora was faster. She grabbed Jason's hand, tears spilling down her cheeks like a rehearsed performance. "She's jealous. She's always been jealous. Please don't let her ruin this for us." Jason froze. His knuckles whitened around his champagne glass. His eyes darted between us, his bride weeping fragile, and me shaking furious, wild. And for the first time, I realized I might lose him too. I stumbled back, my breath shallow. The ballroom swam in gold light, but all I saw was betrayal layered on betrayal. Someone had outplayed me. My revenge had turned inside out. But who? I looked at Ethan. He stood too still, like a chess player waiting for the board to catch up. I looked at Nora. She clung to Jason's arm, trembling in all the right places. And then I caught sight of someone else. In the back corner, half hidden by ferns, the AV tech watched everything with wide eyes. But it wasn't just fear on his face, it was satisfaction. His lips curved into the faintest smile. A chill slid down my spine. It wasn't just Nora. It wasn't just Ethan. There was a third player, and they weren't finished. The faint smile on the AV tech's face burned into me like acid. My whole body locked up. My brain screamed, why would he be smiling unless he was the one who had slipped both sets of files onto the drive? I forced my feet to move, weaving through stunned guests until I reached him. He tried to duck behind the curtain, but I caught his arm. "Talk," I hissed. "Now." He blinked, feigning innocence. "Just a glitch." "Cut the crap. You knew exactly what would play. Who sent you those files?" His lips curved again, sly, satisfied. "Does it matter? They're out. You're out. Everyone knows now." My stomach flipped. He wanted this chaos. Behind me, Jason argued with Nora in sharp whispers. Ethan hovered close, his eyes never leaving me. Phones were still up, recording. The air was thick with scandal, heavy as a storm. The tech leaned in, voice low. "Revenge doesn't always belong to the victim. Sometimes it belongs to the audience." I felt the blood drain from my face. He wanted a spectacle. He wanted destruction. But why? I shoved him back, shaking. "Who are you working for?" He chuckled, slipping away through the side door before I could stop him. And just like that, he vanished into the Miami night. I turned back. Jason was storming toward me, Nora clinging to his sleeve. His voice thundered. "Ava, enough lies. Did you put those files in there? Were you trying to ruin us?" The room held its breath. I shook my head, desperate. "No." Jason listened to me. "Nora and Ethan." Nora cried louder, clutching his chest. "She hates me. She's been trying to sabotage me for years." Jason's jaw tightened. His faith in me cracked like glass. And Ethan, he stepped forward, calm, composed. "Maybe Ava should leave. She's clearly overwhelmed." I wanted to scream, to rip open every secret until the truth bled out. But my voice drowned in the current of their performance. The crowd shifted, whispers like daggers. I could see it in their eyes. I was the villain now. And for the first time all night, I felt something worse than betrayal, powerlessness. My phone buzzed again, a new message. "Meet me outside by the fountain, alone, or the next video goes online." I looked toward the doors. The fountain glowed in the moonlight through the glass, a silent lure. If I stayed here, I'd be torn apart by their lies. If I went out there, I might learn the truth, or walk straight into a trap. Jason's voice cut through the haze. "Ava, I asked you a question." Nora's tears sparkled under the lights. Ethan's gaze pinned me, steady, controlling. And behind them all, the fountain waited. I took one breath, one step back. Then I turned and walked out. The night air slammed into me, humid, salty, alive. The fountain hissed softly, lit gold, its water rising and falling like a heartbeat. And waiting on the stone bench beside it was the AV tech. His phone glowed in his hand. He looked up, smirk curling, and said, "Ready to make a deal." The fountain hissed like a living thing. Its spray glimmered under the golden light's droplets catching in my hair as I faced him. The AV tech lounged on the bench as if he'd been waiting his whole life for this moment. His phone glowed and his hand screen tilted toward me. On it, a folder of files. Dozens. Not just the video of me, not just Nora and Ethan. Dozens. Beautiful chaos, isn't it? He said, voice lazy mocking. All that trust, all that love. Gone in a flash. My stomach twisted. Why are you doing this? What do you want? He leaned forward, smile sharp. Relevance. Attention. You people, your perfect lives, your secrets. Their currency. And I trade in spectacle. I took a step closer, fists clenched. If you think I'll let you already did, he cut in. He tapped his phone and another thumbnail loaded me at 16, a grainy clip I hadn't even known existed. My breath caught. You see, Ava, it's not just about revenge, it's about control. I control the narrative now. Unless, he let the word dangle like bait. You want to make a deal. The fountain gurgled steady while my heartbeat roared. What kind of deal, I asked, hating the shake in my voice. Simple, he said. You walk away. Tonight. No more slideshows, no more accusations. You let the bride and groom finish their fairy tale. In exchange, your dirty little collection of secrets stays buried. My skin prickled cold. So that was it. Protect myself, or burn them all. I looked back toward the glass doors. Through them, I saw Nora laughing shakily into Jason's chest, Ethan whispering something in his ear. Their faces staged perfect. The rage surged hot and electric in my veins. You think I'll just let them get away with this? I snapped. The tech tilted his head. Depends how much your reputation's worth. Because trust me, Ava, one more click and you're not the victim anymore. You're the monster. I wanted to scream, to rip the phone from his hand, to toss it straight into the fountain. But fear chained me still. What do you get out of this? I asked, voice low. His smile widened. I get to watch the world burn. And maybe I get to hold the match while you decide which bridge to torch. The phone buzzed again in his hand. He glanced at it and chuckled. Looks like people are already uploading clips from inside. Too late to stop the storm, sweetheart. You can only choose which way it hits you. My breath shook. Inside, Jason's life was hanging by a thread of lies. My sister's shameless betrayal dripped sugar on his wounds. And Ethan still watched me like a hunter waiting for me to collapse. The tech leaned back, smug. So Ava, what'll it be? Save yourself, or sacrifice yourself to destroy them? I stared at the glowing screen, my reflection warped in its surface. For the first time that night, I realized this wasn't just revenge anymore. It was war. And wars demand casualties. The fountain hissed like it was keeping score. Every droplet landing on stone felt like a countdown. The AV tech leaned back, spinning his phone in his hand, casual as a cat playing with a mouse. Tick-tock, Ava. They're waiting inside. Decide. My hands shook, but my eyes locked on his. Why me? Why my family? You could have ruined anyone. He smirked. Because you're all perfect on the surface. Sister's wedding dream, fiancé, golden couple. People love watching perfect things crack. Through the glass doors, I could see the ballroom pulsing with tension. Jason pacing Nora, whispering Ethan, standing too still. Every second I stayed out here, the lies inside hardened like cement. I swallowed, my throat dry as sand. If I walk away, you'll delete everything. Delete. He laughed harsh and sharp. Sweetheart, nothing ever deletes. But I won't share it. That's the best deal you'll ever get. I thought of Jason's face when he looked at me, still half trusting, half doubting. I thought of Nora's smug cruelty, Ethan's poisonous calm, and myself caught between truth and ruin. What if I refuse? I asked. His eyes lit like flames. Then you go down with them. Maybe worse, because your sins make better headlines than theirs. My skin prickled. He had me cornered. But something inside me shifted. Yes, he had power. Yes, he held the files. But he underestimated me. You think you control the narrative, I said slowly. But you don't know me. He raised an eyebrow. Enlighten me then. I stepped closer, voice low and sharp. I don't care if I burn, as long as I drag them with me. For the first time, his smirk faltered. The fountain's spray misted my skin. My choice solidified cold and merciless. If survival meant silence, then silence was death. I'd rather scorch every bridge than live under their shadow. I'm going back in, I said. His grin returned jagged and dangerous. Then you've chosen war. I turned heels, striking stone like gunfire, heading toward the glass doors. Every step echoed with resolve. Inside, the crowd was restless. Jason's voice rang out sharp and fraying. Where is she? What's happening? Nora clung to him like ivy. Ethan scanned the room searching for me. And then the doors opened. I stepped back into the golden light. Gasps rippled. Phones lifted again. I walked to the stage, calm, steady, my voice carrying like a blade through velvet. You want the truth, I said. Then watch. The ballroom fell silent the moment I spoke. Every champagne glass stilled, every laugh died mid-breath. Jason stood near the head table, torn between anger and confusion. Nora clung to him, face buried in his chest as though she could shield herself from the storm I was about to unleash. Ethan, calm, calculating, watched me like a man betting on which way the dice would fall. And the AV tech. He hadn't followed me inside, but his shadow lingered in every wire, every screen, every pair of eyes waiting to consume whatever I gave them. I opened the laptop. My fingers hovered trembling only once before turning to steel. The projector blinked awake, humming like a heartbeat amplified through speakers. No more lies, I said into the microphone. My voice carried steady cold. You all deserve to see what's been hiding in the dark. The first image lit the screen. Nora and Ethan wrapped in sheets, timestamp glaring in white. Gasps filled the room. Chairs scraped. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Jason staggered back, face ashen. "What is this?" he whispered. Nora cried instantly, grabbing at his arm. "It's fake." She edited it, Jason, please. But then the next image appeared. And the next. Each one undeniable. Each one a knife cutting deeper. Jason's champagne glass slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. I kept my eyes locked on Nora. Her tears didn't fool me now. Her mask cracked, panic flashing like lightning behind her lashes. And Ethan, he finally shifted, stepping forward, trying to take control. "Ava, stop this right now. You're humiliating yourself." Humiliating myself, I barked a laugh. I'm not the one who betrayed my sister. Or slept with my girlfriend's sister on the eve of her wedding. The crowd erupted. Gasps, curses, even nervous laughter from a corner table. Ethan's face hardened. Nora's shoulders shook. Jason stood frozen, caught in the crossfire of truth. But then, the projector glitched. Static filled the screen. And suddenly the video of me appeared again, the drunken car ride headlights swerving, my laughter echoing. The room shifted. Gasps turned into judgment. This again. That's Ava. My chest hollowed. For a moment the fire inside me flickered. But then I looked at Jason. His face was broken not just by my secret but by theirs. And I realized, yes, they could smear me. Yes, I could fall. But if I fell, I'd drag them down with me. I stepped forward, voice sharp as a blade. That's me. I was stupid. Reckless. I could have ruined lives. But I didn't destroy my family. I didn't betray the man who trusted me. Silence. The weight of my words pressed against the golden walls. I turned to Jason. Can either of them say the same? The projector froze on Nora's face, caught mid-kiss with Ethan. The ballroom erupted into chaos. Jason ripped his hand from Nora's grip. Tell me this isn't real. Nora sobbed, no longer able to fake innocence. Ethan reached for her arm, but she jerked away. And for the first time, I saw fear, not guilt, not arrogance, real fear in both their eyes. The crowd swirled, voices clashing like thunder. Phones filmed every second. The perfect wedding had collapsed into scandal. And I stood at the center, not victorious, not safe, but free. For once, the truth was louder than their lies. But then my phone buzzed. A new message. Nice move. But the game isn't over. The ballroom was chaos, shouts, sobs, phones flashing like lightning. Jason had stormed away from Nora, his face shattered, his future bleeding out on the marble floor. Nora, crumbled mascara streaking Ethan, gripping her arm as though control could be stitched back together. And me, standing in the storm's eye, read the message glowing on my phone. Nice move, but the game isn't over. I turned slowly, scanning the crowd. No sign of the AV tech. He'd disappeared again, but his fingerprints were everywhere, on the screens, on the whispers, on the ruin of every relationship in this room. The mic squealed as I stepped back to the stage. "Do you all want to know who's pulling the strings?" I shouted. My voice cracked raw and electric. "Because it's not just them. Someone else wanted this circus," guests murmured, restless. Jason stopped mid-stride. Nora froze. Ethan's eyes sharpened. Before I could say more, the screen flickered again. This time, live video. The feed showed me standing at the podium, staring at myself on the giant canvas. Then the camera panned, revealing the AV tech outside by the fountain, grinning into his phone. Gasps ripped through the room. "There," I said, pointing at the screen. "That's him. He's been blackmailing us all." Security rushed toward the doors. Guests surged after them, phones lifted. The wedding had turned into a manhunt. Jason stared at me, his voice low, shaken. "You knew." "I just found out," I said, chest heaving. "But he planted everything. He wanted to burn us alive for sport." Nora shook her head, panic real now. "Why us?" Ethan muttered. "Because we were easy targets." Screams echoed outside. People chased the tech through the gardens, his laugh carrying like a mad song. I stepped down from the stage, heart pounding, and found Jason. His eyes were bloodshot, betrayed twice over, but searching mine. "Ava," he said, "is it true about you?" I nodded, once steady. "Yes. I made a mistake years ago, but I owned it tonight." Can he? Jason's gaze slid to Nora and Ethan, who stood exposed in front of everyone, no lies left to cling to. Security dragged the AV tech back inside, thrashing, cackling. His phone still streamed. He shouted over the noise. "Secrets are power. Remember this. None of you are innocent." The room seethed. Someone tried to grab his phone, but he dropped it into the fountain with a final laugh. Sparks flew. Darkness swallowed the screens. The circus ended with a hiss. In the silence, after the truth hung heavier than any music could have, Jason dropped Nora's hand for good. Ethan slipped into the crowd, his face pale, his empire of lies crumbling. Nora collapsed in sobs that no one rushed to comfort. And me, I stood taller. Scorched, yes. Exposed, yes. But free. Later, as the guests dispersed in shocked silence, Jason approached me one last time. "I don't know what happens next," he said, voice frayed. "But thank you for showing me the truth." I met his eyes, pain and relief tangled together. The truth always costs something. Tonight it cost everything. As I walked out of the ballroom, heels echoing on marble, I felt the weight lift. The wedding was ruined, my reputation bruised. But I was no longer silent, and silence had been killing me all along. The wedding was ashes. Not literal flames, but ruin all the same. The ballroom, once glittering gold, now smelled of spilled champagne and shame. Guests had fled, whispering, recording, carrying our downfall out into the Miami night like sparks blown into the wind. I sat alone on the terrace, heels kicked off, dress crumpled in my lap. My phone buzzed non-stop, news alerts, texts, missed calls. The scandal had already escaped the ballroom. It was in the world now, and yet the air felt lighter, because the lies were gone. Nora had locked herself in the bridal suite. I could still hear her sobs echoing down the hall when staff passed by. Ethan had disappeared, no one knew where, and no one asked. Jason. He'd gone quiet, standing by the shore like a statue, the waves swallowing his vows before he ever got to say them. And me, I wasn't a hero. I wasn't innocent. But I was no longer silent. A voice broke the night. "Jason." He walked across the terrace, jacket gone, tie loose, eyes bloodshot but clear. He sat across from me, elbows on his knees, staring at the horizon. You blew it all up, he said flatly. I swallowed. It was already burning. I just made sure everyone saw the fire. He nodded slowly, his jaw tight. Part of me hates you for tonight. Another part owes you everything. His words were a blade and a bandage all at once. We sat in silence, the ocean loud in its honesty. Finally, Jason asked, "What happens to you now?" I let out a bitter laugh. I don't know. Maybe I become the villain in every story told about this night. Maybe I start over. But at least, it'll be on my terms. Jason studied me, then looked back at the horizon. At least you gave me the truth. That's more than anyone else ever did. The fountain's hiss was gone, replaced by the endless crash of waves. For the first time all night, the sound felt like freedom. I picked up my shoes, stood, and said, "The truth always survives the fire. Even if we don't." Jason didn't answer, but his silence wasn't anger anymore. It was recognition. I walked away barefoot, the stone cold under my feet, the night heavy, but alive. The wedding was ruined, reputation scorched, but a new story had begun, one written in scars, not lies. Weeks later, Miami had moved on. But my name hadn't. Clips of that night looped endlessly on social media. Nora's tears, Ethan's cold stare, Jason's glass shattering, and me standing in front of the screen, like executioner and victim all at once. The hashtags burned. Wedding from hell. Sister scandal. Ava, the revenge. I couldn't step into a cafe without whispers brushing against my back. Couldn't open my phone without my face turned into a meme. Revenge had given me freedom, yes, but it had also given me infamy. One morning, sitting in a quiet diner far from the beach, I overheard two strangers talking. "She's crazy, you know. Who does that to her own sister?" The other laughed. "Yeah, but she's a legend. Took down the golden couple in one night." I stirred, my coffee lips pressed tight. I was both the villain and the legend. And maybe that was my fate now. Nora disappeared from the spotlight, retreating into silence. Ethan tried to spin the scandal, but every podcast, every post tore him apart. He became a ghost online, his sponsorships gone. Jason filed for annulment and moved away. Last I heard, he was in Chicago, quiet, rebuilding. And me, I stayed in Miami. Not because I loved it, but because running would have meant they still owned me. One evening, I walked along the shoreline, the same horizon that once held Jason's vows. The ocean whispered, unbothered by human wreckage. My phone buzzed, another unknown number. I froze, breath catching. But the message wasn't from the AV tech. He was long gone, arrested days after the wedding for hacking and fraud. This message was simpler. "You ended it. Don't forget why you started." No name, no signature, just that. I stood with waves licking my ankles, the city lights flickering behind me. Revenge hadn't healed me. It hadn't made me whole. But it had stripped away every mask, left only raw truth in its place. And truth, once unleashed, never dies. It echoes, through whispers, through headlines, through the lives we tried to hide. I turned off my phone, slid it into my pocket, and let the ocean drown the noise. The night was heavy, the scars were mine, but for the first time I wasn't afraid of them. Because scars don't mean you lost. Scars mean you survived. Months had passed. The headlines had cooled, the hashtags faded. But the scars, they stayed. Every time I passed the luxury resort on Collins Avenue, I felt the echo, the chandeliers, the laughter, the moment the truth exploded like glass. People remembered me as the woman who burned the wedding. Some spit the word betrayer. Others whispered brave. Both lived in me now. One night I wandered back to the shore where the fountain used to hiss its taunts. It was quiet, just the ocean and me. I thought about Nora. I hadn't spoken to her since that night. Her silence was louder than her sobs had ever been. I thought about Ethan. Last rumor said he left Miami altogether, maybe New York, maybe nowhere. It didn't matter. He was a ghost I no longer chased. And Jason, he never answered my last message. A clean cut. Sometimes kindness looks like absence. I sat on the sand, toes buried, staring at the horizon. I remembered the AV tech's last words. Secrets are power. But I'd learned something else. Secrets rot. Truth scars. But scars, they let you live again. A group of strangers walked by, laughing, carrying cameras. One looked at me and whispered to his friend, "That's her. That's Ava." I didn't flinch. I didn't hide. Because yes, I was Ava. And I survived. For the first time in months, I let the silence stretch without fear. The ocean hummed steady, endless. No slideshows, no masks, just me. And that was enough. Time has a way of dulling the edges of even the sharpest night. Months turned into nearly a year, and the firestorm that had consumed my life finally dimmed into embers. But the scars, they still whispered. Not to hurt me anymore, but to remind me. Miami forgot fast. New scandals, new parties, new names for the tabloids to chew on. Yet sometimes I'd still catch someone looking twice in a coffee shop, as if checking if I was her. The woman who burned a wedding. Yes, I was her, but I was also more. I started writing. Not for the world, not for social media, but for myself. Pages filled with raw truths, what it felt like to be betrayed, to be exposed, to fight with fire when silence had nearly buried me alive. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about survival. And survival is its own quiet form of victory. One afternoon, I received a letter, an actual paper envelope in a world of texts and DMs. No return address. Just my name written in a hand I didn't recognize. Inside was a single line. "The world moved on. Have you?" I held it for a long time, fingers trembling, not with fear but with clarity. The answer was yes and no. Because moving on doesn't mean forgetting. It means carrying the scar without letting it weigh you down. Nora, Ethan, Jason, the tech. They were all ghosts now, shadows in my story. But me, I was flesh, blood, breath. Still here. That night, I walked again to the shoreline. The fountain was long, dry, broken by neglect. The ballroom windows were dark, another event already erasing ours. But the ocean, it still roared, endless and unashamed. I whispered to it, I survived. The waves didn't answer. They didn't need to. A year later, I thought the storm had ended. But storms have echoes. One night, scrolling through my phone, I stumbled on a podcast episode. Title, "The Wedding That Broke Miami." My breath caught. I pressed play. A familiar voice filled my headphones, the host recounting every detail, every rumor, every frame of that cursed night. And then, they played my voice. My words. "You want the truth? Then watch." The crowd in the recording gasped, even though it was just audio. The wound reopened. The episode trended instantly. Old clips resurfaced, stitched into new memes, recycled like ghosts that refused to stay buried. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, but I didn't, because I realized something: this story would never disappear. Not because of Nora, not because of Ethan, not even because of the AV tech, but because people love watching perfect pictures shatter, and in their shattering, they find entertainment. I walked outside, the night humid, the air heavy with salt. On the horizon, the ocean shimmered, eternal and indifferent. For the first time, I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel shame. I felt calm. Because yes, they would keep talking. Yes, they would keep replaying it. But every time they did, they weren't just replaying my fall. They were replaying their betrayal. And that meant the truth. My truth never really died. I sat on the seawall whispering to myself, let them talk. The echo chamber wasn't mine to control, but the silence in my chest that belonged to me, and it was finally steady. Final reflection. Revenge is a spark. Truth is a blaze. But survival, that's the quiet flame that keeps burning long after the world has stopped watching. And I, Ava, would keep burning. I used to think ghosts were made of the dead. But I learned they're made of the living, the ones who betray you, the ones who haunt you, the ones who refuse to leave even when they're gone. Miami was full of them. One afternoon, nearly 18 months after the wedding, I walked past the same resort. Renovated now. Fresh paint, new signs, new laughter spilling out of its glass doors. The world had dressed it up, pretending nothing had ever burned inside. But I remembered. And so did a stranger who stopped me on the sidewalk. "Hey, aren't you Ava?" he asked, his tone hushed reverent. I froze, then nodded. He smiled, not cruelly, not mockingly, just human. "You did what most of us only dream of. You told the truth." And then he kept walking. My knees went weak. Not because of shame, but because for once my story wasn't twisted into a meme. That night I dreamt of Nora. She sat across from me at a table, mascara streaked, whispering, "You never deserved him." I woke up with the taste of salt in my mouth, but no tears left to cry. I dreamt of Ethan too, his steady gaze, his calm poison. But in the dream, when he reached for me, his hand turned to smoke. And Jason, I dreamt of him on the shoreline, the waves swallowing his vows. Silent, still, forever looking away. Ghosts. They lived in me, but they couldn't own me anymore. I went back to the ocean. Always the ocean. The horizon didn't change, didn't care who survived or who broke. But I cared. I whispered their names into the surf. Nora, Ethan, Jason, even the nameless tech. The tide erased them as quickly as I spoke. And in that erasure I felt lighter, because ghosts only haunt if you let them. And I was done letting them. Closing thought: revenge gave me fire, truth gave me scars. But letting go, that gave me peace. This isn't Ava's voice, it's mine, Nora. For months after the wedding, I swore I'd never speak. What could I say? That I loved Jason and Ethan both. That I wanted everything, even if it meant burning everyone else. The world painted me as the villain, the cheating bride, the sister who betrayed blood. And maybe they were right. But here's what they never knew. Jason was never mine. Not really. He loved the idea of me, the perfect bride, the graceful sister. But he didn't see me. He never asked what I wanted. And Ethan saw too much. He saw the cracks in me, the hunger, the envy, and he fed them. He made me believe I was special, chosen, powerful, until that night when power turned to poison. I still hear Ava's voice in the ballroom. Can either of them say the same? Her words cut me deeper than the images ever did. Because the truth is, I couldn't. I couldn't say I hadn't betrayed. I couldn't say I hadn't lied. I couldn't say I hadn't destroyed something sacred. So I stayed silent. Silence was easier than confessing. People think silence is weakness, but silence can be armor too. Behind closed doors, I broke. I tore the dress, shredded the veil, screamed into pillows until my throat bled. But in public, I said nothing. Because in silence, I still controlled one thing: the end of my story. Sometimes I wonder if Ava knows I wasn't just her betrayer. I was also her mirror. She exposed me to the world, but she exposed herself too. And in some twisted way, we both burned together. Now I live in a quiet city far from Miami. No headlines, no cameras. People here don't know my name. They don't look at me and whisper, "Ha, wedding from hell." They just see a woman walking alone, carrying silence like a shadow. Nora's closing thought. I betrayed my sister, yes, but the cruelest betrayal was of myself. And silence is the only revenge I have left. My name is Jason. I was supposed to be a husband. Instead, I became a headline. They called it The Wedding from Hell. Clips of Nora's tears, Ava's fury, Ethan's smug calm, every angle replayed until I couldn't even recognize my own face. People asked me, "How could you not see it?" Truth I didn't want to see. I loved Nora, or at least I loved who I thought she was. The graceful fiancé, the perfect partner. But love built on illusions collapses the moment truth enters the room. And Ava wasn't just Nora's sister. She was the one who stood there, fearless, tearing down the facade. Yes, she had her own demons, but she showed me more truth in 10 minutes than Nora had in years. That truth broke me and freed me. After the wedding, I disappeared. Chicago gave me cold streets and anonymity. I worked. I rebuilt. I slept without cameras staring. But every night I'd dream of the shoreline in Miami, the vows I never said, the ring I never placed, the life that ended before it began. And Ava's voice echoing, can either of them say the same? No, they couldn't. And that was the final nail. I don't hate Ava. Sometimes I think I should for destroying my wedding. But I don't. Because she gave me what no one else dared, the truth. And while the truth scorched me, it also saved me from a lifetime of lies. I don't know where Nora is now. I don't know where Ethan is either. But I know where I am. I'm standing on a new horizon, different city, different sky, different life. And this time, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for honesty. Jason's closing thought. The horizon always swallows the past, but the sun still rises. And I'd rather walk alone into daylight than be blinded again by a beautiful lie. They all told the story wrong. Ava, Nora, Jason, the guests, the tabloids, the world. None of them ever understood me. I'm Ethan, and I don't regret a damn thing. Nora wasn't love. Not really. She was leverage. Ava wasn't love either, though she wanted to believe I could have been hers. Jason, he was just the prize at the end of the aisle, too blind to know he was part of my board. See, for me it was never about romance, it was about control. Nora gave me access, Jason gave me status, Ava gave me fire. All three of them fueled the same game, and I played it well until the night it all blew apart. Did Ava expose me? Yes. Did Nora crumble? Of course. But me, I walked away. Because people like me always walk away. I've read the articles. A narcissist. A manipulator. A villain. Let them talk. They don't know the rush of moving pieces across the board, of making people dance to your script. Even the AV tech thought he was in control. He wasn't. He was just another pawn who wanted to be a king. And pawns break first. Sometimes I think about Nora's face when Jason dropped her hand. The devastation, the humiliation. She hated me in that moment. But she also needed me. That's the trick. I was her poison and her cure. And Ava. Her rage was beautiful. She thought revenge gave her power. But every time she said my name, every time she burned for me, she proved I still owned space inside her. That's real control, not the slideshow, not the scandal, the echo that never dies. Now I live under a different name, a new city, a new face to the world. But I'm still me, and I'll always find the next board, the next players, the next game. Because people are predictable, and predictable people are easy to break. Ethan's closing thought. They'll all heal. They'll all move on. But me, I don't move on. I move forward. Always 3 steps ahead. Always playing. They never said my name. To them, I was the tech guy, the hacker, the saboteur. But I had a name once. I had a story. And now you'll hear it. I wasn't at that wedding to watch love. I was there to watch the collapse. Because people like them, rich, polished, perfect, they think secrets stay buried. But I knew better. Secrets always leak. You just need the right crack, the right hand to pry them open. Nora gave me access without knowing. Her vanity, her endless photos, her carelessness with passwords. Ethan gave me content. His arrogance left trails, messages, late-night slips no one else caught. And Ava, she gave me the perfect match. She thought she was in control when she built that slideshow. But I was already there behind the curtain, stitching my threads into hers. When the videos played, when the ballroom gasped, when chaos bloomed like fire, that was my art. Not theirs. Mine. Because truth is a weapon, and I wield it better than anyone. People ask, why destroy them? The answer's simple. Because destruction sells. That wedding became global overnight. Streams, podcasts, memes, millions of eyes fed on it. And me, I wasn't even in the frame. But I was everywhere. They caught me later, dragged me into headlines, hacker behind wedding scandal arrested. They thought that was the end of me. It wasn't. Ava thinks she won. Nora thinks she lost. Jason thinks he escaped. Ethan thinks he's still playing. But the truth, they're all still in my story. Because without me, none of them would have been exposed. Without me, the masks would still be intact. Do I regret it? No. Would I do it again? Always. Because while they healed, while they tried to move on, while they licked their wounds, the world never forgot. And I don't need applause. I only need the echo. Tech's closing thought: revenge belongs to the wounded, but power belongs to the one who holds the camera. And I'll always hold the camera.